I guess the overall attitude kind of ends up being that it's a drug issue, but that's kind of cloudy. I mean, I have other friends that were extremely talented musicians that died in other ways, and I think it's just sort of
Why did some guys make it and some guys didn't make it?
Well, everybody has friends from school that would be the same age as them that aren't there. People die. People don't survive.
Sure. Is it
kind of that
is it
simple? If you go into a 12-step meeting, any city, and you count 75 people and you ask how many of them are musicians, you're going to get 2. And everybody else is going to be from every walk of life that you can imagine. The same as Scott Weiland's mother crying. There are mothers crying who have lost their sons, who are construction workers, mechanics, literally anything you can think of, and it's happening every day. And the only difference between a musician that's famous and that other kid is that we don't talk about him on the radio.
Yeah.
That's kind of it. One of the things that I've experienced over and over again, which I think is a way that people deal with it, particularly when it's someone who's already kind of celebrated for something, is that we invent this idea that somehow there was like it was predetermined. I think, and that's where I get impatient with it, because it's if that's the case, it's predetermined with every kid that ends up with a substance abuse habit and dies from it.
But you can't change your
millions
path,
of them. Yeah, you can, absolutely.
And you just have to surround yourself
and
with
many
the right
do,
people.
and many don't. If someone has a propensity to abuse alcohol or drugs, and they didn't meet the wrong sort this weekend, they're going to meet another guy somewhere else.
At some point.
Yeah, if you have that in you.
Do you ever
It's a matter of sort of course as to when, at what point in your life you run into it and realize, and then you have to confront the problem. I was never decadent, and I was always someone I think that was
in control?
I was always sort of I was used to a certain amount of just kind of expecting a lot of myself and being able to meet that expectation of myself, not of anybody else. And I kind of, that was who I was since I could remember.
Chris Cornell is a man who, in the eyes of many, had resolved most of his internal struggles. However, the drama in the singer's life was constant and severe as he was divorcing for a second time. Our following statements will be hard to accept for many, but rest assured, we will show you receipts so you can make up your mind. Let's start with the widow, shall we? Chris met Victoria Karayiannis in Paris, France in 2002. This was soon after leaving Promises, the rehab center he chose to treat his addictions. Far from being spontaneous, she had been targeting to marry a famous and wealthy man before her escorting days completely dried up. While in France, Vicky claimed she was a public relations agent, but some think that's a cover. One of her high school colleagues told me, "Vicky was my best friend in school. I can confirm that marrying someone rich and famous was her goal. From the time she was 14, Vicky's mother, Antonia Basiliades, schooled her in the art of seduction and pimped her out to older men for lavish gifts. That's called child sex trafficking." The situation with the Karayiannis family is that they have always been involved in criminal enterprises in some way or another. Vicky's mother has been so prolific at self-snitching that her daughter forbade her from posting online for a long time, and only recently she seems to have started doing it again. In her broken English, Tony Basil, as she calls herself on social media, gives us an example. Before the Chris Cornell years, my babies are so proud. Vicky and Nicholas had an overnight success in Paris at age 18-19. After September 11th, Paris was done in 3 weeks. Le Bar at Plaza Athénée became the hotspot. At 18 only, Nicholas turned it into a hotspot, his sister helping next to him. Thanks to that help, the hotel was booming. After that, a successful story to follow. A-list celebrities, fashion icons, world-renowned supermodels, jet-setters, and royalty, all entering through a strictly monitored security door. Nicholas only allowed his friends in. Black Calavados and Chris Cornell came a bit later. Audioslave was in Paris, where Chris fell in love again in less than 24 hours. What a love story. Next. Not all clubs that cater to A-listers are hotspots for deviancy, but as we take a closer look at Vicky and Nicholas, it becomes clear what kind of plays the siblings made so their little adult entertainment racket would flourish. That's when the former Soundgarden lead singer met Vicky. Chris was on tour with his band in France, and an after-party was arranged at the Hotel Plaza Athénée, where Vicky herself was a host and an escort, a fact unknown to Chris at the time. After visiting her in between shows, they got engaged not long after.
Now, did you hook up with her like were you already famous?
I met her in Paris actually, and she kind of vaguely knew who I was, but not really. And this was like 6 years ago. And,
Oh, so you're
and it was
newly-
really great that she didn't really know who I was.
Yeah, and then they're not all affected. And
So that was post
No, I had to work very
Ooh.
hard. I had to work very hard at you know,
the romance.
yeah, which is the way it should be.
Dude, she's way hot.
Yeah, it wasn't because you know what happens, and this is no joke. Like,
Look at you holding her purse here.
I've
oh,
had,
you
yeah,
are.
I
That's
mean,
cute.
well, I'm a nice guy.
He won't hold
And
his
I love,
wife's
and I love
purse.
her dearly.
I'm not a big purse holder. I think I don't know what it is. It just oozes me out a little bit.
You're kind of a little bit.
You're not,
older.
maybe you need to be just a little more comfortable and
In my-
confident.
Dude,
My masculinity.
your wife says, "Oh, hold my purse, honey." You're like, "I'm one of the biggest rock stars in the world." I don't know, and it doesn't matter. You're like, "My wife told me to hold her purse. I'm holding her purse."
Yeah, that's how it should be.
It should be. I don't know. I'm just not there yet.
Yeah,
I'm just not there
I don't
yet. I should be. I know I should be.
Somewhere, and I know, and it certainly was not like an example set to me by my father, but somewhere I learned to be a gentleman. I think I think it's something. You know,
Calm down.
There's a story that happened to me when I was a kid. I used to take the city bus to school because I went to a school for bad kids that get kicked out of school. So they didn't have like a school bus that picks you up, and I was waiting to get on the bus, and there were a couple of old ladies, and I cut in front of them to go up onto the bus. And the bus driver, who looked like Santa Claus, he said, "What are you doing, son? You get down out of the bus and let the ladies on." And I got down off the bus and let the ladies on, and then I came on. So the very next day, I'm waiting, and it's the same ladies and me and the same Santa Claus bus driver, and the door opens, and I let the ladies go on first, and then I went up, and the driver looked at me and said, "Now, didn't that make you feel good?"
Aw.
And I thought, yeah, I guess he's kind of right. And that Santa Claus bus driver sort of taught me this huge life lesson then. I was probably 13 years old.
Did you write a song? Santa Claus bus driver.
Come together
Wow.
with.
So, what about you as a normal person? Like your normal life? Are you based in Seattle or like where do you live mostly?
We live between Paris and Los Angeles, and then since I worked with Timbaland in Miami, we kind of decided to move there. So I think we're going to be sort of between Paris and Miami.
All right. So like, what house would your kids think is home?
My kids right now kind of have 2 or 3 different places they call home, and that's their life. That's
They're
what they
used to
kind
that.
of get. Yeah.
And living in Paris, is that kind of weird? I mean, because I know Johnny Depp lives in Paris too, but is that weird? Do you get that language?
I can understand it, like, and I can read signs. I know where I'm going. I pretty much get it when people tell me stuff, but I can't speak it.
So
It's
why
not
do you
like
live there?
because at some point, like, I always wanted to leave the U.S. and live somewhere else, and I went to a lot of different cities in Europe and thought they were amazing, and I think Paris was one of my favorite ones. And B, then I met my wife Vicky there, who lived there. And I started going there to visit her literally every time I had enough days off that it made sense to fly. And I had jet lag for like 2 years. Just
Wow.
to see her. And we decided early on that we would stay there and rented. And this is in the Greek tradition. Rented an apartment, and then eventually like bought an apartment right above her mom's apartment.